And we have officially arrived in Singapore. As you guys can see by the statue behind me, we are right next to the Merlin statue. A very touristic site, as you can tell by all the tourists surrounding me. Right now, we are standing in front of the harbor with all the incredible high-rise buildings and the Marina Bay Sands. One of the most famous hotels in the world, right here in Singapore. Before we do any exploring of the city, and as it is the morning time, I think what's better thing to do than get some breakfast, and some local Singaporean breakfast, in fact. So now we just came to a very, very popular restaurant, as you guys can see. It is Ya Kun Kaya Toast. To have a local recommended dish, this is very highly recommended. It is runny eggs with the kaya toast with sugar butter, as well as a iced coffee. And all of this will actually cost about $7.30 Singaporean dollars, so about $5 US. A little more than what I'm used to in Malaysia, but this is Singapore, so we'll embrace it. Anyways, let's try it out. Dip the toast in the eggs. This one. Very good. Very good. Yes. It's very similar to what I had in Malaysia before, with the runny eggs and the toast. And for the last, we have to try the coffee. This one. Very good coffee as well. On our way to our next destination, one thing that is very interesting is that as we walk throughout the city, we can just take a look at all of these buildings. And the thing I find interesting about it is you could see all over the building, there is greenery and green spaces integrated within the actual building. This is one thing about Singapore that they designed very well in the city, is that because this is such a metropolitan city and there's so many people but not that much room, one way to add greenery is by adding it into the building's infrastructure, as we literally see in this one building, but all over the city you will see it. And even on top of the buildings where you couldn't even find it, they have it. They have farms. And as we turn the corner, I can't help but just feel mesmerized by these incredible buildings. Look at how incredible the designs are, with the greenery, as we said before. And it just feels so luxurious all the way into the back. I've been to New York City and a lot of other places that have very big high-rise buildings, but I could probably say Singapore takes the top spot when it comes to beautiful, magnificent high-rise buildings. Wow, this is so crazy. I feel like a kid that just seen a big city for the very first time. This is so fascinating. Literally walking down the street, I had no idea what this building was until I read this little sign. This is, as they call it, Nagor Dargah. And basically what it is an Islamic shrine built by the Indians who came and settled in this land. And it is actually the oldest religious building in all of Singapore. Can you believe that? Randomly just stumbled across it. Amazing. And big shout out, I have to always say, no smoking. No smoking here. I respect it. And another temple. So right across from the Muslim shrine, this is a temple, I believe, either a Buddhist or a Taoist temple. As we've seen before in Kuching, they have the dragons that the Taoist temple had. So it's either a Buddhist or a Taoist temple. Look at that. It says no entry unless cleanse rules and vegetarian diet observed. For the meat eaters, you're not allowed entering this building. Cool. I mean, that includes me, but still interesting. Well, if you guys didn't guess by now from the temple over here, we are entering the Chinese area of Singapore. And all around us, there's little relics of the past. someone holding some sort of liquid, maybe water, juice, not sure. And then these men that are holding their fishes very proudly. And one of the reasons why is because Singapore, long before all of the economic prosperity came, it was just a little fishing village. So, as you guys can see, this was a very important part of their lives. Now we are in the Chinatown area of the city, and I actually came here for a completely different reason, but we've actually found a mosque, another one. Look at this, how incredible is this? A green, beautiful mosque. A little note for this mosque is that it donated the land in perpetuity. And if you don't know what perpetuity means, that means forever. So now this mosque is standing. The land may be a mosque until the end of times. But we came to see something else, which is just in front of us. This is not what we came for, but another religious site, a Hindu temple. And as you see, we are in Chinatown. But yes, we've got a Hindu temple with the cows over here, and I believe all the deities. Lots of different religious diversity here in Singapore. Interesting to see. And as we are in the Chinese town area of the city, we have finally reached a Chinese Buddhist temple. This is actually the site of the Buddha's tooth. Like the actual tooth of the Buddha. Well, that's what they believe is stored inside of here. Yes. And this is a Chinese Buddhist temple. Singapore, having a very large Chinese population, obviously has to accommodate to the Buddhist culture. This is why we see such a large temple right here. Very beautiful. All right, now I have a challenge for Singapore, and that is to use Brunei money in Singapore. Apparently, the Brunei dollar is actually pegged to the Singaporean dollar. So basically what that means is they're of equal value. And from what I've read online, you are able to spend Brunei dollars in Singapore and Singapore dollars in Brunei. But is that actually true? We only have one Brunei dollar. So I might not even be able to find anything for that, but we will try and see if we could spend some Brunei money in Singapore. That's the challenge. A water bottle is $1.50. Actually, we have $1.30, so still out of our budget. We have arrived at a hawker. Basically, the story behind this place is long ago, before they had this building, basically, it would just be like street food stalls all around. But they created this whole entire building in order to make it more sanitary and be easier. So we'll look around, see if we could find something for one Bruneian dollar. I've already found one, but I'm gonna look for a drink. I found a few food items that we could have ate, but no drink. So we're gonna save our money for a nice cold drink. Now we have made it to the Marina Bay Promenade, and take a look around. We have all of the incredible buildings, all of the high-rise buildings surrounding us, and the bay over here. All the way over there is the Merlin statue, and some more buildings, as well as the Marina Bay Hotel and shopping mall. It's also a shopping mall over here. I think the best way to describe this is just truly spectacular. And I would say, out of all of the big cities I've seen, I do think this may be one of the most well-designed and most complete cities I've seen all across the world. When you try to take a little bit of the high-rise, beautiful buildings mixed in with nature and even nice bay over here and the ocean, all together, I don't know how you could beat this. This is a truly spectacular city. Trying to escape the heat, we have come to the Marina Bay Mall. Just like the rest of the city, another spectacular building. And it actually has a little bit of a photos of the history. As I said, there was a big fishing culture here long ago. And you could see it in the drawings or the paintings or photos. right here. Cool. And if you were looking to splurge out on your trip to Singapore, there's many different stores, from Ralph Lauren to Philipp Plein, Moncler, Dolce & Gabbana. All of the brand names that you can think of, the top tiers of the world, they have it all here. Want a little taste of Europe? Look at that. They have something that is very reminiscent of the Venice canals, the Singaporean Sand Marina Bay shopping mall canals. Probably a lot cleaner than the actual Venice ones. I think I'm a little overdressed for this event over here, so I'm going to leave to not embarrass them. And coming all the way from the Marina Bay shopping mall, there's a bridge that actually connects us to this point right here, where we have a very beautiful view of these made-up trees. I believe they call them the Super Grove Trees area, which is a huge park. And these structures that look like trees, and they're very beautiful. And if you did not get the theme of this video, all of these things that we are doing is actually absolutely free. If you want to actually go up on top, you have to pay, but walking around the park is completely free. Look at this. We have a nice little man-made river, beautiful trees and greenery all surrounding us. And then if we go a little bit further, we will arrive in the Super Grove tree area. Wow, this is amazing. Can you believe a place like this is actually completely free? Incredible. If I haven't said it before, Singapore is uncompared when it comes to matching nature with modern day ingenuity. As we see over here, these are the makeshift super trees, and all around us we actually have real trees and other natural things. This is something I don't think any city in the world could really compare to. The bridge that we took to get all the way to the park actually connects through the hotel, and you could get a glimpse of how incredible this hotel is, as well as the mall. This view in the background, I think this is the perfect time to give you guys a little bit of information of Singapore and how it came to be. So if you can see in the distance, you can see all of these buildings. They have names on top like HBC, Standard Chartered, Citi, JP Morgan, WeWork, Capital Land, and Maybank. And the reason why all of these big companies came all the way here to Singapore to establish business is because this is actually known to be one of the financial hubs of the world. One of the two biggest ones in all of Asia. Number one would be Hong Kong, and number two would be here in Singapore. This is one of the reasons why the country, as you can see, has so much wealth, is because they had a lot of emphasis in creating this as a very strong financial global hub of the world. And number two, if you didn't know, is also the maritime routes throughout the world. Singapore sits along one of the most traversed passageways in the world. Right before you enter the Malacca Strait, everything coming from China going to the west or the other way around passes through Singapore. So these are only a few reasons why this magnificent city became to be as powerful and rich as it is today. To get to the next side of the little river over here, we have to cross this bridge, the Helix Bridge. And right behind us is the Art Museum. Although, when you're in Singapore, you don't just cross any bridge. You cross a beautiful piece of art. Look at that. So now we have made it onto Arab streets. As you can see, there's Aladdin's jewelries, and there's many different stores with Arab names like this, Al Junaid Brothers. As well as, look at this archway. This is a very Arab style of architecture, but that is not the only reason why we are here. And actually, look at this, Muscat Street. This is in Oman. And even more. Some more murals over here. Look at that, with the Arab fortresses over here, the ships, the Jewel of Muscat. Ah, look at that. So some Omanian history over here, and I believe these are the Oman coffee pots. And I believe maybe this might be a boat from Oman. I'm not sure. But look at this, a beautiful painting. Wow, so cool. But that's not the only reason why we came here. We also came for this beautiful mosque. From what I've read, it's actually been here since 1824. One of the oldest mosques in all of Singapore. Wow. This is the Sultan Mosque. Inshallah, let's just take a look around. So from what I've read online, there's actually different influences in creating of this architecture. One of them that I reminds me of is the Brunei domes, the golden domes that you see at the top right there. But from what I've read online, it is actually influenced from the east to the west. All different types of influences went into the creation of this beautiful, spectacular mosque. Wow. And although the street right next to us might be named Arab Street, this is actually the Malay quarters of Singapore. And I think now is the perfect time to give you a little bit of history of Malaysia and Singapore. For a long, long time, actually, Malaysia and Singapore were one country, although possibly the most unique circumstances in gaining independence I've ever heard around the world happened with Singapore. Most of the time, a country has to fight for their independence, or at least at the minimum, demand it or ask, right? But for Singapore, it's actually very easy. Malaysia just kicked them out. Yeah, believe it or not. It's a whole political thing that happened, but in the end, basically what happened is Malaysia kicked out Singapore, and that is how Singapore became a country. I think I found the perfect store where we could actually afford, but we'll see if they accept Brunei dollars. I was just wondering, do you accept Brunei dollar?
No, I accept.
Yes? Okay, I will buy a drink. Thank you. Many different options. Look at this. You know, I feel rich today. We have many options that we could actually afford. Huh. Fiji apple. So many options. Which one should we get? You know what? I've never had this before. We're going with the sparkling Fiji apple. Perfect. I don't need change. Thank you. Mission complete. We spent a Bruneian dollar in Singapore. So there you go. It is possible. And that is the best store in Singapore. 95 cents for a nice apple juice, cold apple juice. Exactly what I needed. Now, if you were wondering, why do I have my bag on all day long? Well, the reason why is because even though we spent the day in Singapore, we are not going to be spending the night here. Actually, we are going back to Malaysia. There is actually a bus that brings us to Johor Bahru, and it only takes about an hour. And the prices there are probably about 25% of the prices here. And actually, that is a common thing that a lot of people working in Singapore will do. They will actually live in Johor Bahru, take the bus or the train every day back and forth, and live in Malaysia, work in Singapore. But for us, we spent an amazing day in Singapore, and now we have arrived at the bus station. As you guys can see, Singapore, the Johor Express. So now we are off back to Malaysia. Johor Bahru. Yeah, I want to buy a ticket. See the card machine? It's insert. No machine? I have no money. I have Malaysia ringgit. Ringgit? How much? 20.
Yeah, 20.
I see. Okay. I only have 50. 3. Yeah, okay. Thank you. I go?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I think we enter. Just like that, we are headed back to Malaysia. MashaAllah, we're just walking right now and we see a absolutely incredible mosque right here. The Khadija Mosque. Take a look at this. This is the mosques of Singapore. If you did not know, Singapore actually does have a significant Muslim population. Obviously, being right next to Malaysia, there's a lot of Malay and Muslim people. And for that reason, they have beautiful mosques. So right now we are just crossing this river, and it's a beautiful area actually. Take a look at the surrounding areas. Nice place to run, exercise, even over there as well. This whole area, such an incredible, beautiful like park exercise area. And the thing I noticed that's very cool is like coming from this side, most of the buildings are like 2 stories, maybe 3 stories at the max. And then you just cross the bridge and voila, it's like you're entering a whole new world. We have the high-rise buildings, extreme luxury, and even the Mariana Sands, one of the most exclusive hotels you could ever find in the world. And the whole surrounding area, just absolutely stunning buildings. So it's a interesting contrast. Oh my, look at this. And even there are people rowing. Look at that. What a pleasant place, Singapore.